What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. If we're just meeting, my name is Garrett. I'm a 7-figure Amazon seller showing you how you all can make a living off Amazon as well. In honor of this weekend being the ASD trade show weekend, today's video is going to be all about trade shows, B2B shows, vendor shows, whatever you want to call them, right? How to plan for them, how to approach them, how to show up and execute, and ultimately how to be successful when attending these sorts of shows. First and foremost, what are these shows? What are we talking about? Right? ASD show, vendor shows, all these sorts of shows are essentially a two-part equation. We have buyers and sellers essentially all attending these events to meet each other. From the seller's perspective, it's really going to be brands, distribution companies, closeout companies, cash and carry kind of brand companies. Anyone who essentially has, any companies that essentially have products to display show up and rent a booth and put them on display to meet people who are potentially interested in buying their specific products. Essentially just to meet people and make connections and just promo your business. And the other side of the equation, as buyers, right, as us Amazon sellers, we buy products, we're looking to make connections with people who have products, right, and in all sorts of forms and fashions. And so that's why it's super beneficial and productive as Amazon sellers to come to these and attend these specific shows, because there's just a lot of different companies in a very close proximity. And in-person connections typically are just a lot more productive than reaching out over the phone or emails, et cetera, right? So we can be very efficient with our time in meeting a lot of different sales reps for specific companies that we may be interested in buying from for our Amazon businesses, right? If you check out this link right here, wholesalecentral.com, they have all sorts of shows across the country, across the year, maybe some local to your area, and even some smaller shows specific to certain niches, right? Arts and craft vendor shows, automotive vendor shows. They're not all going to be as big and broad as ASD is, with thousands of different brands and companies across brands, distribution companies, closeout companies, etc. So there's going to be all different sizes and all different locations. So it's definitely worth noting. See if there's some vendor shows in your area to make an effort to go and attend. Right. So that's what they are. That's what we're talking about when we're referring to these sorts of vendor shows. Now you specifically have one in mind. Right. Now let's talk some planning. Right. How to prepare for these sorts of shows and how to make the most of that time. First and foremost, right, you'll want to strategize who you want to be approaching and who you want to be talking to and how you want to be talking to them, right? Lucky enough for ASD, all the information, all the vendor information is actually on their website. So, right, you can go onto ASD's website and download an entire sheet that shows exactly all the different companies that are going to be there as vendors. So you can start to game plan who you want to be targeting, who you want to be talking to, and who you may not be wanting to talk to. For example, like we already mentioned, there's different sorts of companies, brands, distribution companies of different sizes, regional, local, national, etc. There's also going to be closeout companies and liquidation companies, right? And there's going to be sorts of these smaller mom-and-pop shops where you can go and purchase goods and leave with those goods. There's going to be sort of like gas station companies and all those sorts of niches, right? There's all sorts of companies, right? And so you want to have an idea in terms of who you want to be approaching it and strategizing around. For us, we operate our wholesale business pretty much 100% brand direct. So it's worth noting that we're going to be focusing on specific companies where they are promoting their brand, right? We don't want to be necessarily approaching a closeout company that has tens of different brands and essentially just close out stock, right? We want brands with continuous stock, and so those are sort of the brands that we're going to be planning to meet. And so that's the first thing, right? Identify who you want to be approaching and create sort of like a short list of those businesses so you can be prepared on a show day. Second, you want to be prepared in terms of how you are portraying your business. That comes in kind of two forms. One, from a business card perspective. Anytime you're meeting one of these sales reps or business owners, you're essentially probably going to be exchanging business cards. So you want to come prepared with a business card of your own, with your name, your business name, your email address. Make sure it's a professional email address, not necessarily just a Gmail. And then obviously your phone number and your position at the company, right? All that is important information on your business card. From an apparel perspective, you want to have some sort of branded polo, right? Something that represents your company, adds to the legitimacy, adds to your professionalism, and just establishes that sort of seriousness about how you take your business and how you execute on the daily basis, right? All three of those things kind of incorporate the planning aspect. Additionally, right, inside the actual conversations, you want to do some research and homework beforehand in terms of the specific brands that you're approaching, right? Any specific product lines that you may be interested in, any specific product types that you may be interested in, their sort of business, right? If you are a small family-owned business and you're approaching another family-owned business, well, maybe that's something that you want to pinpoint and bring up in the beginning of that conversation, right? It shows that you did your homework. It shows you care. And it shows it establishes that trust factor and rapport and breaks the ice a little bit in the beginning. So any sort of little nuggets about a specific business or company that you're approaching, use that in that conversation because it adds to the rapport that you may have with a specific sales rep. Right now we're at the show. Right, first and foremost, right, and specifically centered around ASD. There's going to be thousands of different booths there representing different companies. First thing you want to do is just kind of walk through the floor. Right, get your bearings. Get comfortable in the new environment. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. So just take a minute to just get comfortable and kind of just observe all the separate interactions that are taking place. That's first and foremost, right? So now you're there, right? You're ready to have that first conversation, ready to make that first connection. Before you do, think about the things that you want to gain from each and every conversation that you have with every sales rep or every representative from each brand, right? Have a checklist and have that front of mind as you're having this conversation because that's really going to aid in kind of your efficiency of the conversation, right? So what sort of stock are you looking for? Do you want continuous stock, as in you can keep restocking, right? What's the lead time? Are there any MOQs? Are there any bulk discounts? Do you have a specific sales rep that you'll be in contact with to place orders? What's the ordering process like? Do they have new products that come to their line every so often, right? All these sorts of conversation points are very important, right? Is there a catalog that you can download on your phone? Sometimes they have a QR code. Or is it a paper catalog, right? Though that information specifically can aid you in bringing home that data, downloading and processing it that night, and then coming back the next day with a potential order. Sometimes those brands and companies have like deal day, like show deals, right? If you place an order at the specific show, they give you an extra 10 or 15% discount or whatever the case may be, right? So really go through your checklist, then get some sort of contact info of someone you can reach out to. How we typically operate with the ASD shows that we go to is we usually use the first day to try and talk to everyone on our list, right? These are going to be multiple day events. Our first day is typically meeting everyone that we want to meet, talking to everyone that we want to talk to, getting all the data, right, accumulating all the data, and then getting any catalogs that we can. We bring that home, right, go back to the hotel, go through all of our analytical processes, right, consume the data, go through all the catalogs, see if there's any potential orders to be made, and then go back that second day and ideally place the orders that we want to be placing, right? We want to always be placing an order in person. Again, that just adds to the legitimacy of what we're trying to do. We're serious. We're looking to act now and continue to make progress with this relationship moving forward. But that's about it, guys. Obviously, look for shows in your area. Plan for those shows. Have a specific plan of attack in terms of who you want to be reaching out to, how you want to be reaching out to. Is there any info you could bring to the table? And then show up, execute, show up to each and every conversation engaged, gain the insight available, and then bring that home and continue that conversation moving forward. That's it for today's video, guys. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next one.